The Nowata Methodist Church is happy to produce a lot of different content for the edification of Christ's church throughout the world. This daily segment that you're listening to right now corresponds with the Daily Bible Reading Challenge, which is hosted by Christ Church in Moscow, Idaho. If you want to download the list of readings that they publish for yourself or learn more about this challenge, this initiative, go to biblereading.christkirk.com. I'm Jeffrey Rickman. I'm the pastor here in Nowata, and I read from the Berean Standard Bible, which you can also find at berean.bible. Consider subscribing to this podcast to be a part of this daily effort to grow in familiarity with and love of God's holy word. Let's dive in for today. Hey there, I'm Jeffrey, and this is the Daily Bible Reading Challenge that I put out almost every day. We never do Sundays because the expectation is that people pour themselves into engagement with God's word with their covenant communities, the local church, and so hopefully you're tied into one of those, and this is something just supplemental that you're doing. And so if you're connected to my church, very good. If you're connected to someone else's church, very good. I hope to enhance your time in the word, hopefully making this a bit easier for you to dive in. So if you don't have your reading list, that's fine. I have everything that we're supposed to do for today. We've already begun Chronicles. We're going to pick back up there and then do a Psalms. So we are now in Chronicles chapter 11. Let's get into it. Then all Israel came together to David at Hebron and said, "Here we are, your own flesh and blood. Even in times past, while Saul was king, you were the one who led Israel out and brought them back. And the Lord your God said, 'You will shepherd my people Israel, and you will be ruler over them.' So all the elders of Israel came to the king at Hebron, where David made a covenant with them before the Lord, and they anointed him king over Israel, according to the word of the Lord through Samuel. Then David and all the Israelites marched to Jerusalem, that is Jebus, where the Jebusites inhabited the land. The people of Jebus said to David, 'You will never get in here.' Nevertheless, David captured the fortress of Zion, that is, the city of David. Now David had said, 'Whoever is the first to strike down a Jebusite will become chief commander.' And Joab, son of Zeruiah, went up first, and he became the chief. So David took up residence in the fortress. That is why it was called the city of David. He built up the city around it, from the supporting terraces to the surrounding wall, while Joab restored the rest of the city. And David became greater and greater, for the Lord of hosts was with him. Now these were the chiefs of David's mighty men, who together with all Israel bolstered and strengthened his kingdom, according to the word of the Lord concerning Israel. This is the list of David's mighty men. Jashobeam, son of Hachmoni, was the chief of the officers. He wielded his spear against 300 men whom he killed at one time. Next in command was Eleazar, son of Dodo the Ahohite, one of the three mighty men. He was with David at Pasdamim when the Philistines gathered there for battle. At the place with a field full of barley, the troops fled from the Philistines. But Eleazar and David stationed themselves in the middle of the field and defended it. They struck down the Philistines, and the Lord brought about a great victory. 3 of the 30 chief men went down to David to the rock at the cave of Adullam, while a company of Philistines was encamped in the valley of Rephaim. At that time David was in the stronghold, and the garrison of the Philistines was at Bethlehem. David longed for water and said, "Oh, that someone would get me a drink of water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem." So the 3 broke through the Philistine camp, drew water from the well at the gate of Bethlehem, and brought it back to David. But he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out to the Lord, saying, "Far be it from me, my God, to do this. How can I drink the blood of these men who risked their lives?" Because they had brought it at the risk of their lives, David refused to drink it. Such were the exploits of the 3 mighty men. Now Abishai, the brother of Joab, was chief of the 3, and he lifted his spear against 300 men killed them, and won a name along with the three. He was doubly honored above the three, and he became their commander, even though he was not included among the three. And Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was a man of valor from Kabzeel, a man of many exploits. He struck down 2 champions of Moab, and on a snowy day he went down into a pit and killed a lion. He also killed an Egyptian, a huge man, 5 cubits tall. Although the Egyptian had a spear like a weaver's beam in his hand, Benaiah went against him with a club, snatched the spear from his hand, and killed the Egyptian with his own spear. These were the exploits of Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, who won a name alongside the 3 mighty men. He was most honored among the 30, but he did not become one of the 3, and David appointed him over his guard. Now these were the mighty men: Asahel, the brother of Joab; Elhanan, son of Dodo of Bethlehem; Shamoth, the Hararite; Helez, the Pelonite; Ira, the son of Ikesh, the Tekoite; Abiezer, the Anathothite; Sibbecai, the Hushathite; Eli, the Ahohite; Maharai, the Netophathite; Heled, son of Baanah, the Netophathite; Ithai, son of Ribai, from Gibeah of the Benjamites; Benaiah, the Pirathonite; Hurai, from the brooks of Gaash; Abiel, the Arbathite; Asmaveth, the Bahuramite; Eliahba, the Shaalbanite; the sons of Hashem, the Gizonite; Jonathan, son of Shagi, the Hararite; Ahiam, son of Sakar, the Hararite; Eliphal, son of Ur; Hefer, the Mecherathite; Ahijah, the Pelonite; Hezro, the Carmelite; Naarai, son of Ezbai; Joel, the brother of Nathan; Mibhar, son of Hagri; Zelek, the Ammonite; Naharai, the Beerothite, the armor-bearer of Joab, son of Zeruiah; Ira, the Ithrite; Gareb, the Ithrite; Uriah, the Hittite; Zabad, son of Ahlai; Adinah, son of Shiza, the Reubenite, chief of the Reubenites, and the 30 with him; Hanan, son of Maacah; Joshaphat, the Mithnite; Uzziah, the Ashtarthite; Shammah and Jael, the sons of Hotham, the Arorite; Jediael, son of Shimri, and his brother Joha, the Tizite; Eliel, the Mahavite; Jerebai and Joshaviah, the sons of Elnaam; Ithma, the Moabite; Eliel, Obed, and Jaasiel, the Mezobaite. Now we're at 1 Chronicles chapter 12. Now these were the men who came to David at Ziklag while he was still banished from the presence of Saul, son of Kish. They were among the mighty men who helped him in battle. They were archers, using both the right and left hands to sling stones and shoot arrows, and they were Saul's kinsmen from Benjamin. Ahiezer, their chief, and Joash, who were the sons of Shemaah the Gibeathite; Jeziel and Pelet, the sons of Asmaveth; Berakah, Jehu the Anathothite; Ishmaiah the Gibeonite, a mighty man among the 30 and a leader over the 30; Jeremiah, Jahaziel, Johanan, and Jozabad the Gederathite; Eluzai, Jeremoth, Beeliah, Shemariah, and Shephatiah the Haruphite; Elkanah, Ishia, Azarel, Joezer, and Jashobeam, who were Korahites; and Joelah and Zebediah, the sons of Jeroham, from Gedor. Some Gadites defected to David at his stronghold in the desert. They were mighty men of valor, trained for battle, experts with the shield and spear, whose faces were like the faces of lions, and who were as swift as gazelles on the mountains. Ezer the chief, Obadiah the second in command, Eliab the third, Mishmanah the fourth, Jeremiah the fifth, Attai the sixth, Eliel the seventh, Johanan the eighth, Elzabad the ninth, Jeremiah the 10th, and Machbanai the 11th. These Gadites were army commanders, the least of whom was a match for 100, and the greatest for 1,000. These are the ones who crossed the Jordan in the first month when it was overflowing all its banks, and they put to flight all those in the valleys, both to the east and to the west. Other Benjamites and some men from Judah also came to David in his stronghold. And David went out to meet them, saying, "If you have come to me in peace to help me, my heart will be united with you. But if you have come to betray me to my enemies when my hands are free of violence, may the God of our fathers see to it and judge you." Then the Spirit came upon Amasai, the chief of the 30, and he said, "We are yours, O David. We are with you, O son of Jesse. Peace, peace to you and peace to your helpers, for your God helps you." So David received them and made them leaders of his troops. Some from Manasseh defected to David when he went with the Philistines to fight against Saul. They did not help the Philistines because the Philistine rulers consulted and sent David away, saying, "It will cost us our heads if he defects to his master Saul." When David went to Ziklag, these men of Manasseh defected to him: Adnah, Jozabad, Jediael, Mikael, Jozabad, Elihu, and Zilethai, chiefs of thousands in Manasseh. They helped David against the raiders, for they were all mighty men of valor and commanders in the army. For at that time men came to David day after day to help him, until he had a great army like the army of God. Now these are the numbers of men armed for battle who came to David at Hebron to turn Saul's kingdom over to him, in accordance with the word of the Lord. From Judah, 6,800 armed troops bearing shields and spears. From Simeon, 7,100 mighty men of valor ready for battle. From Levi, 4,600, including Jehoiada, the leader of the house of Aaron, with 3,700 men. And Zadok, a mighty young man of valor, with 22 commanders from his own family. From Benjamin, the kinsman of Saul, 3,000, most of whom had remained loyal to the house of Saul up to that time. From Ephraim, 20,800 mighty men of valor, famous among their own clans. From the half-tribe of Manasseh, 18,000, designated by name to come and to make David king. From Issachar, men who understood the times and knew what Israel should do, 200 chiefs with all their kinsmen at their command. From Zebulun, 50,000 fit for service, trained for battle with all kinds of weapons of war, who with one purpose were devoted to David. From Naphtali, 1,000 commanders, accompanied by 37,000 men with shield and spear. From Dan, 28,600 prepared for battle. From Asher, 40,000 fit for service, prepared for battle. And from east of the Jordan, from Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, there, 120,000 armed with every kind of weapon of war. All these men of war arrayed for battle came to Hebron fully determined to make David king over all Israel. And all the rest of the Israelites were of one mind to make David king. They spent 3 days there eating and drinking with David, for their relatives had provided for them. And their neighbors from as far away as Issachar, Zebulun, and Naphtali came bringing food on donkeys, camels, mules, and oxen, abundant supplies of flour, fig cakes, and raisin cakes, wine and oil, oxen and sheep. Indeed, there was joy in Israel. 1 Chronicles chapter 13. Then David conferred with all his leaders, the commanders of hundreds and of thousands, and he said to the whole assembly of Israel, "If it seems good to you, and if this is of the Lord our God, let us send word far and wide to the rest of our brothers in all the land of Israel, and also to the priests and Levites in their cities and pasture lands, so that they may join us. Then let us bring back the ark of our God, for we did not inquire of him in the days of Saul." And because this proposal seemed right to all the people, the whole assembly agreed to it. So David assembled all Israel from the river Shihor in Egypt to Lebo Hamath to bring the ark of God from Kiriath Jearim. David and all Israel went up to Baalah of Judah, that is Kiriath Jearim, to bring up from there the ark of God the Lord, who is enthroned between the cherubim, the ark that is called by the name. So they carried the ark of God from the house of Abinadab on a new cart, with Uzzah and Ahio guiding the cart. David and all the Israelites were celebrating before God with all their might, with songs and on harps and lyres, with tambourines, cymbals, and trumpets. When they came to the threshing floor of Kidon, Uzzah reached out and took hold of the ark because the oxen had stumbled. And the anger of the Lord burned against Uzzah, and he struck him down because he had put his hand on the ark. So he died there before God. Then David became angry because the Lord had burst forth against Uzzah. So he called that place Perez Uzzah, as it is called to this day. That day David feared God and asked, "How can I ever bring the ark of God to me?" So he did not move the ark with him to the city of David. Instead, he took it aside to the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. Thus the ark of God remained with the family of Obed-Edom in his house for 3 months, and the Lord blessed his household and everything he owned. 1 Chronicles chapter 14. Now Hiram, king of Tyre, sent envoys to David along with cedar logs, stonemasons, and carpenters to build a palace for him. And David realized that the Lord had established him as king over Israel and had highly exalted his kingdom for the sake of his people Israel. And David took more wives in Jerusalem and became the father of more sons and daughters. These are the names of the children born to him in Jerusalem: Shammua, Shobab, Nathan, Solomon, Ibhar, Elishua, Eliphelet, Elpelet, Nogah, Nepheg, Japhia, Elishama, Beeliada, and Eliphelet. When the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king over all Israel, they all went in search of him, but David learned of this and went out to face them. Now the Philistines had come and raided the valley of Rephaim. So David inquired of God, "Should I go up against the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hand?" "Go," replied the Lord, "for I will deliver them into your hand." So David and his men went up to Baal-perazim, where he defeated the Philistines, and said, "Like a bursting flood, God has burst out against my enemies by my hand." So they called that place Baal-perazim. There the Philistines abandoned their gods, and David ordered that they be burned in the fire. Once again the Philistines raided the valley. So David again inquired of God, who answered him, "Do not march up after them, but circle around them and attack them in front of the balsam trees. As soon as you hear the sound of marching in the tops of the balsam trees, move out to battle, because this will mean that God has marched out before you to strike the camp of the Philistines." So David did as God had commanded him, and they struck down the army of the Philistines all the way from Gibeon to Gezer. And David's fame went out into every land, and the Lord caused all nations to fear him. 1 Chronicles 15. David constructed buildings for himself in the city of David, and he prepared a place for the ark of God and pitched a tent for it. Then David said, "No one but the Levites may carry the ark of God, because the Lord has chosen them to carry the ark of the Lord and to minister before him forever." And David assembled all Israel in Jerusalem to bring up the ark of the Lord to the place he had prepared for it. Then he gathered together the descendants of Aaron and the Levites. From the Kohathites, Uriel the chief and 120 of his relatives. From the Merarites, Asaiah the chief and 220 of his relatives. From the Gershomites, Joel the chief and 130 of his relatives. From the Elziphanites, Shemaiah the chief and 200 of his relatives. From the Hebronites, Eliel the chief and 80 of his relatives. And from the Uzzielites, Aminadab the chief and 112 of his relatives. David summoned the priests Zadok and Abiathar, and the Levites Uriel, Asaiah, Joel, Shemaiah, Eliel, and Aminadab. And he said to them, "You are the heads of the Levitical families. You and your relatives must consecrate yourselves so that you may bring the ark of the Lord, the God of Israel, to the place I have prepared for it." It was because you Levites were not with us the first time that the Lord our God burst forth in anger against us, for we did not consult him about the proper order. So the priests and Levites consecrated themselves to bring up the ark of the Lord, the God of Israel. And the Levites carried the ark of God on their shoulders with the poles, as Moses had commanded in accordance with the word of the Lord. David also told the leaders of the Levites to appoint their relatives as singers to lift up their voices with joy, accompanied by musical instruments, harps, lyres, and cymbals. So the Levites appointed Heman, son of Joel, from his brothers Asaph, son of Berechiah, from their brothers the Merarites, Ethan, son of Cushiah, and with them their brothers next in rank, Zechariah, Jaaziel, Shemiramoth, Jehiel, Uni, Eliab, Benaiah, Maaseiah, Mattithiah, Eliphelehu, Micaiah, and the gatekeepers Obed-Edom and Jael. The musicians Heman, Asaph, and Ethan were to sound the bronze cymbals. Zechariah, Aziel, Shemiramoth, Jehiel, Uni, Eliab, Maaseiah, and Benaiah were to play the harps according to Alamoth. And Mattithiah, Eliphelehu, Micaiah, Obed-Edom, Jael, and Azaziah were to lead the music with lyres according to Sheminith. Cananiah, the head Levite, was the director of the music because he was highly skilled. Berechiah and Elkanah were to be guardians of the ark. Shebaniah, Joshaphat, Nathanael, Amasai, Zechariah, Benaiah, and Eleazar, the priests, were to blow the trumpets before the ark of God. Obed-Edom and Jehiah were also to be guardians of the ark. So David, the elders of Israel, and the commanders of thousands went with rejoicing to bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord from the house of Obed-Edom. And because God helped the Levites who were carrying the ark of the covenant of the Lord, they sacrificed 7 bulls and 7 rams. Now David was dressed in a robe of fine linen, as were all the Levites who were carrying the ark, as well as the singers, and Cananiah, the director of music for the singers. David also wore a linen ephod. So all Israel brought up the ark of the covenant of the Lord with shouting, with the sounding of rams' horns and trumpets, and with cymbals and the music of harps and lyres. As the ark of the covenant of the Lord was entering the city of David, Saul's daughter Michal looked down from a window and saw King David dancing and celebrating, and she despised him in her heart. All right, that's it for 1 Chronicles today. Now we're doing Psalm 28. To you, O Lord, I call. Be not deaf to me, O my rock. For if you remain silent, I will be like those descending to the pit. Hear my cry for mercy when I call to you for help, when I lift up my hands toward your holy sanctuary. Do not drag me away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity, who speak peace to their neighbors while malice is in their hearts. Repay them according to their deeds and for their works of evil. Repay them for what their hands have done. Bring back on them what they deserve. Since they show no regard for the works of the Lord or what his hands have done, he will tear them down and never rebuild them. Blessed be the Lord, for he has heard my cry for mercy. The Lord is my strength and my shield. My heart trusts in him, and I am helped. Therefore my heart rejoices, and I give thanks to him with my song. The Lord is the strength of his people, a stronghold of salvation for his anointed. Save your people and bless your inheritance. Shepherd them and carry them forever. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Gotta say, even though we got lists, I much prefer these lists to the genealogies. So, and it is nice to get more texture for some of these stories that we encountered in 2 Samuel. I like knowing more about, especially the warriors. I don't recall getting nearly that much detail in the books of Samuel, so I very much appreciate that. I'm enjoying this. Hope you are too. If you have not been doing this reading with us the whole time, it's okay. Just keep up with us where we are. There are days for catching up, and then, in the meantime, you can't catch up. All the previous ones I've put up, and they're just as easy to navigate as this one. It's the same format, so you're welcome to go back and retread that ground. We got several months ahead of us. At this point, we've covered more than half of the Bible, I believe. It's a good feeling. And then, of course, once we complete the time, it's just doing it again. Our lives are meant to be constantly, as Psalm 1 says, meditating on God's word day and night. So thanks for meditating on his word with me for a little bit. Now we're not going to look at it, but we're going to continue to go about our days and our lives reflecting on these things because they are quite worthy. All right, I'll see you later.